I knew my family used me for money, but I never imagined my own mother would wait until my sister's wedding was over to steal everything I had. $74,000. My future. My house. Gone overnight. And when I confronted her, she looked me in the eyes, smiled calmly, and said, "You're young. You'll make it back." That was the exact moment I stopped being their daughter and started becoming the woman who would destroy every lie they had built for years. If you've ever been betrayed by someone who was supposed to protect you, hit like on this video. And before we start, I want you to comment one word: trust. I want to know how many people here learned the hard way that the deepest betrayals never come from strangers. And subscribe to the channel, because this story didn't end with stolen money. It ended in courtrooms, secrets, hidden accounts, and a family that would never survive the truth. Before my life fell apart, I measured time in double shifts, patient charts, and quiet sacrifices. I was a physical therapist in Chicago, 31 years old, exhausted most days, but proud of one thing: every dollar in my savings account belonged to me. 11 years of work. 11 years saying no to vacations, designer bags, and weekends out. Because every morning before work, I drove past the same little house with the yellow door. And every single time, I imagined myself opening it with my own keys someday. My mother used to smile when I talked about that house. Now I realize she was already calculating how much it was worth to her. My younger sister, Emily, was sunlight in my parents' house. I was structure. Responsibility. Reliability. Emily could quit jobs, miss rent, change careers 3 times in a year, and my mother, Diane, would call her free-spirited. If I forgot one family dinner because of work, I became cold and selfish. My father, Richard, rarely raised his voice. That made him worse. He sat quietly during every manipulation, letting my mother speak for both of them while he watched people the way gamblers watch poker tables. Calculating. Waiting. And somehow, every family emergency eventually ended with my wallet opening. But a month before the wedding, I started noticing something strange about my father's phone calls, and the panic in his eyes afterward. 2 days before Emily's wedding, my mother knocked softly on my hotel room door holding a clipboard and wearing that exhausted smile she used whenever she wanted something from me. "Sweetheart, there's an issue with the florist payment," she whispered. "The bank flagged the transaction because the wedding account is temporarily frozen." Then she asked me something strange. She wanted temporary joint access to my checking account for emergency vendor payments. Just for the weekend. I hesitated immediately. My stomach tightened before my brain understood why. But then she looked offended. Hurt. "After everything we've done for you," she said quietly, "you think I'd steal from my own daughter?" So I signed the paperwork. And that night, while everyone danced at my sister's wedding, my father disappeared twice to take phone calls outside. At the wedding reception, my mother stood in front of 200 guests holding a champagne glass and smiling like the perfect mother. Then she laughed and said, "Olivia has always been the practical one. Thank God one of my daughters sacrificed her personal life to become financially stable." People laughed politely. I didn't. Because she kept going. She joked about how I was married to work, how Emily was the daughter who actually knew how to enjoy life, how I was probably secretly paying for half the wedding anyway. The room laughed again. Even my father smiled into his whiskey glass. And suddenly, I realized something horrifying. My family didn't see my sacrifices as love. They saw them as resources. That night, while everyone celebrated downstairs, I checked my banking app in the hotel elevator, and noticed the balance was suddenly unavailable. The next morning, I woke up with a headache, opened my banking app again, and froze. Available balance, $0. For a few seconds, my brain refused to process it. I refreshed the screen again. And again. Then I saw the transfer history. Multiple withdrawals. Wire transfers. Empty. Everything empty. $74,000 gone in less than 2 days. My hand started shaking so badly I dropped my phone onto the hotel bathroom floor. I ran downstairs to the family brunch still wearing yesterday's makeup. My mother was calmly pouring coffee when I pushed the phone toward her. "Where's my money?" I asked. She didn't panic. She didn't even look surprised. My father lowered his eyes silently while my mother took a sip of coffee and said the sentence that destroyed something inside me forever. "Your father had debts, Olivia. You're young. You'll earn it back." I expected myself to scream. To throw something. To collapse. Instead, I went completely quiet. The entire brunch table kept eating while my future disappeared in front of me. Plates clinked. Coffee poured. My mother acted irritated, as if I was ruining Emily's wedding weekend by reacting emotionally to being robbed. Then my father finally spoke. Calm. Measured. It was temporary. I was going to fix it. That lie hurt more than the theft. Because deep down, I suddenly understood this wasn't desperation. This was habit. They had been using me for years, one guilt trip at a time. I stood up, grabbed my purse, and walked out of the hotel without another word. My mother called after me in the lobby. "Don't make this ugly, Olivia." But sitting alone inside my car an hour later, staring at my shaking reflection in the mirror, I made a decision that terrified me. I was done protecting them. I spent 6 hours inside my apartment without turning on the lights. I sat on the kitchen floor replaying every moment from the wedding, every strange look, every missing detail, every warning my instincts tried to give me. Then I stopped crying. And I started organizing evidence. Screenshots. Transfer confirmations. Bank timestamps. The joint account authorization forms my mother manipulated me into signing. I created folders, timelines, backups. At 4:12 p.m., I called the bank's fraud department. At 5:03, I contacted a civil fraud attorney named Vanessa Hale. And at 6:40, while reviewing the wire transfers, I noticed something strange. One payment hadn't gone to a wedding vendor. It had gone to a private LLC I'd never heard of before. Carter Ridge Development Group. My father's middle name was Ridge. And suddenly, this stopped looking like a desperate theft, and started looking like something much bigger. 3 days later, my mother called pretending nothing had happened. "You're overreacting," she said softly. "Families help each other." I stayed calm on purpose. That confused her. Because my entire life, they depended on my guilt more than my obedience. If I cried, apologized, or defended myself emotionally, they knew exactly how to control me. But silence made them nervous. Silence forced them to wonder what I knew. So I let her talk. She explained how hard things had been for my father. How powerful people were pressuring him. How this was only temporary. Then she made the mistake I'd been waiting for. She said, "Once Richard closes the Lakewood property deal, everything will be paid back." The problem was simple. I had already searched every property database in Cook County. There was no Lakewood development project connected to my father. And for the first time, I realized my parents weren't drowning in debt. They were hiding fraud. A week later, Emily showed up outside my apartment holding 2 coffees and looking terrified. "I didn't know about the money," she whispered before I even opened the door fully. I swear. I believed her immediately. Not because she was emotional, but because she looked ashamed. Then she told me something that changed everything. A month before the wedding, our mother had asked for access to her bank account too. Same story. Emergency wedding payments. Temporary transfer authority. But Emily refused. Quietly. She got angry, Emily admitted. "Dad told her to let it go because you'd be easier to convince." That sentence sat between us like broken glass. Then Emily pulled folded papers from her purse. Notes she found inside Dad's home office after the wedding. Wire transfers. Investor names. Fake property projections. And one handwritten list with 3 words circled twice. Immediate repayment risks. My name was first. Vanessa Hale didn't react emotionally when she reviewed the documents. That scared me more than if she had. She simply adjusted her glasses and said, "Olivia, this isn't just family theft." For the next 2 weeks, we built timelines connecting my stolen money to shell accounts tied to my father's fake investment company. Emily secretly sent me photos of accounting binders from my parents' house whenever she visited. Every document revealed the same pattern. My father promised investors luxury housing developments that didn't exist. When payments became due, he used money from newer victims to silence older ones. Classic fraud. Carefully hidden behind family dinners and polite smiles. Then Vanessa uncovered something worse. 3 other victims had already filed private complaints against my father months earlier. Which meant when my parents stole my savings, they already knew the entire scheme was collapsing. And suddenly, I understood why my mother looked so calm at brunch. They never planned to give it back. The lawsuit was filed on a rainy Thursday morning. Civil fraud. Financial theft. Asset concealment. My parents received the papers that afternoon. My mother called me 19 times. I ignored every call. Then my father finally left a voicemail. Calm. Controlled. Dangerous. "You don't understand the kind of people involved in this," he said. "If you continue, you could destroy this family permanently." Not we could. You could. That was his talent. Turning consequences into someone else's fault. But the real panic started 3 days later when Vanessa called me at work. Someone had attempted to access my apartment building's security records and mail locker information. The same evening, Emily confessed our mother had been searching the house for missing documents and accusing her of betrayal. Which meant they were getting desperate. And desperate people stop hiding who they really are. 2 months into the case, the Yellow Door house was officially sold. I found out during my lunch break while refreshing the realtor page for the 100th time. The listing disappeared. Under contract became sold. Just like that. I locked myself inside an empty therapy room at work and cried harder than I had over the money. Because the house wasn't really about property. It was proof that my life had been moving somewhere safe. Stable. Mine. And now it belonged to strangers. That evening, my mother sent me a message. "You're destroying everyone over money you would have made back eventually." I stared at that text for a long time before deleting it. Then I signed another document with Vanessa. We were requesting a court order to freeze my parents' assets, including their home. If I couldn't save the Yellow Door, then I would stop them from stealing another future from anyone else. The final mediation happened inside a cold conference room downtown. No jury. No cameras. Just lawyers, documents, and the family that had spent years pretending nothing was wrong. Vanessa laid everything out piece by piece. The bank transfers from my account. The fake LLCs, investor complaints. Emails linking my mother to hidden transactions. Emily's copies of handwritten repayment lists. For the first time, my father looked afraid. Not angry. Afraid. Because the evidence showed exactly how they stole the money, where it went, and how long the fraud had existed. Nothing vague. Nothing emotional. Just facts. My mother finally broke first. She started crying, saying they were under pressure, saying they meant to repay me someday. But the judge overseeing mediation interrupted her. "You stole from your daughter knowingly," he said flatly. And suddenly, the silence in that room felt heavier than every lie they had ever told. The settlement agreement was brutal. My parents were ordered to repay the entire $74,000 plus legal fees through structured payments monitored by the court. Their house was placed as collateral if they defaulted. But the civil case triggered something even bigger. Federal investigators reopened complaints connected to my father's investment company. Within weeks, more victims came forward. Retirees. Small business owners. Even family friends. The evidence Emily found became part of the investigation. Every fake property file. Every falsified projection. Every transfer hidden through shell companies. My father eventually accepted a criminal plea deal, supervised probation, restitution payments to victims, and a 10-year ban from handling investment funds or soliciting investors. My mother received civil penalties and probation for knowingly helping conceal stolen money. And the strangest part? Even after everything collapsed, my mother still insisted the real betrayal came from me. The payments started slowly. Court-ordered restitution arrived in small, controlled transfers every month. I watched my stolen life return piece by piece, but I never felt relief the way I thought I would. Some things don't return whole. My father's sentence was finalized weeks later. Probation, strict financial supervision, and mandatory repayment to every victim. He lost his license to handle investments for a decade. My mother received probation and civil penalties, but what hurt her more was something else. No one in the family defended her anymore. Emily moved in with me for a while after everything collapsed. She showed me what she had written privately during the wedding week, notes about my mother asking her for access to, and how she had quietly refused. That refusal had saved her from the same trap. We rebuilt everything from scratch. The house with the yellow door was gone forever. I stopped checking listings, stopped chasing what was already taken. Instead, I saved again, slowly, carefully, without telling anyone in the family. 2 years later, I signed the papers for a different house. It had a green door. Smaller than the dream I lost, but fully mine in a way nothing before had ever been. No shared accounts. No temporary access. No explanations needed. My parents never went to prison together. They lived under separate restrictions, financially and legally bound by restitution orders, slowly forced to confront what they had done every time a payment left their accounts. My father tried to justify it until the end. My mother never apologized, only repeated that I had destroyed the family over money. But the truth was simple. The family had been destroyed long before I acted. I just stopped paying for it. On the day I moved into the green door house, Emily stood beside me and said, "They didn't lose a daughter. They lost control." And for the first time, I didn't feel like someone who had been stolen from. I felt like someone who had finally been released. I still love them. That part never changed. But love is not access. Love is not silence. And love is not permission to be used. The green door closed behind me, and for the first time in my life, it stayed closed because I decided it would. And the question I carry now isn't about what they took. It's how long I should have let them. If this story stayed with you, like the video so more people who've faced betrayal like this can find it. Comment what hit you the hardest. Was it the silence, the manipulation, or the moment she finally chose herself? And subscribe for more emotional, true-to-life stories about hidden family secrets, quiet revenge, and the moments people finally take their power back.